And let me put my tweet out before I forget. And before we get started, I just wanted to mention we saw, I guess it was yesterday, an announcement in the WildStar housing section of the forums that I believe it's a guild called Legacy that's hosting a Valentine housing competition. Let me see if I can get all the information here. It can be a whole or a part of a community, so if it's just a single plot or even part of the plot, any of that qualifies. You have until the 13th of February by 4 p.m. and I believe this is EST time or something. It's NA specific, so it's only available to NA players or those that play on NA side. The winner will get a 50 plat top prize, and then second and third will get decor, costumes, mounts, and one lucky audience member on the tour will get a Datascape Phage Tech lockbox. There we go. They're going to be gathering on the 10th, no, the 13th at 10 p.m. To do the tour. And then at the end of the tour of all the contestants, they will announce the winner. Now, yeah, it's 10 p.m. EST time is when they will do the deal. If you want to participate, you just need to contact the organizer, which is Laywing Dammit, and let them know that you're planning to enter, and I'm going to assume give them all the information that they need to know what plot, what specific area of the plot, etc. I think they're going to give each entry about 5 to 10 minutes, and then they'll move on to the next one. Because I think, well, it probably depends on how many entries they get on how much time they will allot. But I think they want to be done within like about an hour to an hour and a half. And the Twitch live stream that they're planning to use to showcase the tours is on Arcyx, ARCYEX. I haven't linked anything on my channel page, but if you just go to the official WildStar forums and then look in the housing subforum, it's right there. It's like one of the first topics started by Laywing. So you'll be able to get all the information there. So yeah, again, it's only open to NA players, but hopefully there will be quite a few interested parties. I know a lot of folks would wish that Carbine themselves would do a lot of more of these competitions and stuff, but from my own experience, it's very time consuming and such to do the judging. And of course, there comes a bit of a backlash when the judging doesn't go quite according to plan. So I'm sure Carbine doesn't want to get involved in that as often as probably we would like. But hopefully sometime this year they'll have another some form of a competition. Maybe not just single plots or just communities, maybe a mix of both. For those that don't want to participate in one or the other. But yeah, we'll just have to see how that goes. I know they had the community showdown at the end of last year, but I don't think we had a Winterfest one. And then I think there was a Shades Eve. So maybe they kind of alternate every other year. Maybe this year we'll get a Winterfest competition going. I really don't know. But anyway, I just wanted to throw that out because when players take the initiative, either through their own right or through a guild grouping, to put up these like little community events, I always like to try and promote those because that brings up morale to the community in and of itself. So yeah, there's that. Okay, so we are back for the finishing bits of the tour for the Mystwood Forest community on Jabbit EU, built by Thefia, also known as Varash or Kayan. Kayan Twilight Hunter, I think, and Varash Lightning Storm, if I remember rightly. We kind of delved into the first two plots of the community. This would be Kayan's plot, and then there's Barash's, and we're heading into the third one, and hopefully we'll be able to wrap up the rest of the community today. If not, I will be more than happy to start up another stream tomorrow. I prefer to try and keep it down to 2 days worth of stuff, but you know, some of these builds are so extensive and detailed, and I get kind of lost and chatty, it can string out a little bit more than intended. Let's see, I've got some new notes for today's bits. Let me just kind of check over them. So yeah, let's just kind of get started, and I'll double check and make sure I hit everything before we leave it. Now, there are quite a few community areas throughout along the edges here that aren't necessarily tied to the individual plots themselves. Some are, they kind of like bleed over, but others are specific to the community zone. And this would probably be a prime example. This is just before you go into the third plot, and you'll see that you can see there's like a little island up here, a floating island. So see, I kind of went into Zenithil's bits, but then I'll probably back out of it again if I come across over here. Yeah, it's like in the community. I'm trying to figure out how to get up there. I think I have to go up the mossy twig thingy here. So if we have time, I will go through some of the bits that may not have been covered by directly stalking around on the individual plots. We'll visit some of the community areas if I don't manage to cover them all themselves. Here we go. Now we saw these in some of the previous plot, and these little platforms. It's just 2x4s, nicely laid out, like a little, not necessarily a treehouse kind of thing because it's open air, but nice little bits. And then of course you can reach the islands up here, so we have something almost like a little park. Nice little meeting place. Even has a little water feature on it, which I thought was nice. You know, not all of the water features have to have a specific kind of water source. It just, there's water coming out of the rocks. That's good enough. Now, to make these, in this one in specific, it's a upside down snowy hill. You can tell by the white puffs of snow that come up. Because remember, those particular items, including the upside down massive umbrella tree and the Protostar Insta Hills that you can purchase from the cash shop directly, they mimic whatever ground cover you have as your main ground source remodel for that particular plot. So you have it showing up here, and then they've added in grass patches and stuff to kind of define where the paths are. And then they just cover up the top part, the snowy dome, with stones, and it works out really nice. We've seen this used in other plot builds that have floating islands, and it works fantastically. Before, we were kind of restricted on those kind of things because not everybody could get a hold of the upside down umbrella trees, which was essentially the only item that worked that way. But once Carbine added the snowy hills and people discovered that it behaved the same way, and it's directly from the housing vendor for like, I don't know, 50 silver or something, it just became an explosive favorite. It's cheap, readily available, and so easy to use. You can make it any size you want. You can even use it to cover the teleport pad at the entrance of your individual plots. I think the main difference between it and the upside down umbrella tree is the umbrella tree, you can kind of size it down to about this size, relatively small. For the upside down snowy hill, it has to be much larger before it will work properly on the covering up the teleport pad. Something to do with, because the trick of those items that cover the pad is that you're kind of glitching out the portal, the collision barrier thing that goes around it. And if you use an item that's considered solid, it won't work because obviously it knocks up against the barrier. But the snowy hill, the upside down umbrella tree, various stones, and some of the hover park pieces, and so on and so forth, they have more of a hollow kind of thing. Especially the bigger they are, the more the hollow, you can manipulate the hollow interior to make it look like you're putting a solid object over top of your portal, but it's not, sort of. So it's like tricking it a little bit. And a lot of that just takes patience and experimentation as to what items work and what items don't, how big they have to be, what position you need to put them in for it to stay and actually not bork out anything. There is a few topics, or there are a few topics in the housing subforum that kind of discuss the trick of setting up something like that, and there's been a lot of helpful builders that have linked, not only described the items that they use, but they actually give the KBT coding that you can use. It never seems to work for me. I actually had to get someone else to help me with it because the coding didn't work for one of the stones I wanted to use, but for most, they seem to not have any problem with just copying the code and using the item in the way that it's tricked into being used. So yeah, just a tip on that for those that are curious how we cover the teleport pads like we do. We've been asking for ages for Carbine to give us multiple options instead of just having that ugly portal cover that we've always had, but that's what it works out to. Get creative and kind of bake it in. Okay, so we are on the Everlife Glade of, I don't know how to pronounce that properly. It's Zenithil Water Sprout, I guess. And good morning, Poi and TW. Glad you guys could join, and anyone else that happens to be lurking around. And of course, hello to those that watch this as it's stuck up on YouTube. I know I have a lot of viewers that watch from there rather than the live show. So I appreciate those of you that continue to check out the videos. Again, this particular plot is, the way I've read it, the main focal point is the massive mangrove tree in the center, which is, I would presume, this one here. And apparently it's has a little interactable for a nice effect, and apparently there was one on Kayan's plot as well that I completely missed. Part of that is when I come across interactables, I know there's a lot of like portals and ones that teleport you elsewhere, and I always am kind of hesitant to click stuff even though it might be clickable. Even chairs and stuff I get kind of iffy about because I've gotten stuck in some seats or stuck in certain doors. Those are about the only things I regularly interact with is doors if I'm trying to go through a house or something, but other stuff I tend not to because I've been like teleported off the plots accidentally by clicking a portal that I didn't realize that's what it was. Because while sometimes when I hover over something I get a little pop-up to say what it is, that doesn't always work properly, and so yeah, that's why I tend not to click stuff. I'm not the one that pushes the big red button when it says don't push the big red button. I like say yes, I will not push the big red button. Okay, so we'll get to that when we get to the big tree, but I'm just kind of going through again around the surrounding bits. You can see there's some nice like river, winding river through the plot. I believe it's mostly an upside down chalice, just judging by the shininess of it. And then for the islands, they have the waterfalls intermittently through there. And again, I think to access this one, I need to walk up the mossy root thingy. Horrible at this jumping stuff. So you use the mossy vine thingy to get to the platform, and then from the platform you have a rope bridge that joins to the little islands. And here again, it's similar to the other one, but this one's like a double falls. Great place for screenshots if you want to take some of the like the layout of the water here. See if I can do it without falling off the edge here. That's a great shot. Very colorful. And again, if you're wondering about most of this landscaping here, a lot of that is the thinkerheads. Even this little bit here, it's all the same item. We saw that in a lot of plots in the past. Maddie's idyllic something, I forget what they called it. They used it quite extensively as well. And I know there's, I think it's Satharion also is has this as a big favorite, and I think it's mostly because of the moss that hangs down. It adds to that nice feel, and it looks like little grassy hills if you make it big enough. There are other items you could use, but that works really well. Yeah, a lot of crafting. It's not cheap either, from what I recall. There's another shot. Let me just walk over here. See if I can do this without walking right off the edge. Some of it is mossy overgrowth, but I think a lot of it is the thinkerheads. Down here. I make sure I don't miss any little hidden doors and such. Again, the color shifting has come in really handy to change up some of these stones. Before, we just didn't have the dark brown rocks. Go more towards the center here. This little, not an island per se, but it's kind of like a little peninsula. And this is waterfalls, the newer versions. The animation is just amazing. It's a really big fave. It's a pretty color. And you can see with a little bit of, sizing and positioning and stuff, you can make it look any shape you want. Again, just a variety of plants. I mean, there's brambles, there's underwater plants, there's ones from various different zones. I see Celestion stuff, Galeris bits, things from like Malgrave and like desert plants and things you would see in zones that don't necessarily work together, but it always amuses me and just goes to show that as long as you do it in a more natural way, just kind of scattering them here and there, it works. It doesn't necessarily clash like you would think. I've even found folks, I mean, you see like there'll be a jungle type of build, and then you'll see Arctera plants, like some of the snowy shrooms and stuff, and they still work. It's just how you place it and where you use it as to whether or not it blends in enough. Yeah, we're kind of going all around the edge here. But look at all the colorings. It's very rainbowish, pretty, but not overly done. I've seen some that they specifically aim to just turn it into almost like a candy land. It's so um, colored and over the top. This is a bit more muted in that respect, but still enough of hints of the cotton candy colors, the pinks and the oranges and yellows, but done nicely, I think. Not that the Candyland versions are not nice. I think it just depends on what you're aiming for. I don't think they were aiming for, Candyland kind of feel here. Now they said that this here is the item is called a blood hearth tree. It's available from the reputation vendor after you've completed the Vault of Archon story instance with the appropriate medal. So if you want to get, and I guess this is the thing I can click. I didn't do it on KN's plot, but I'll go ahead and do it here and see if it, there you go. So it turns red and gives off some kind of glowy thing. And then back to the calm, pretty green. I like this better, personally. Because, I mean, it matches a little bit better, but there you go. Again, I believe this part here, this little mound, that's a insta-hill. And then they've just built up around it with rocks and things. Yeah, it does look pretty cool. There's a lot of interactable items that give off some really fun animations and things like the little. It's not an actual like flycatcher plant, Venus flytrap or whatever. But it kind of behaves that way. It's like that thing. It's got the 3 leaves, and if you click it, it opens up and then it closes. It's little stuff like that that's kind of fun. Or like the Skeech, like little pupa sack or something. You click it and it goes splat, and there's like goo. It doesn't last very long, but it's still an interesting, fun little interactable thing. Okay, so let me back off. Now this, I believe, is the plot that there's no access whatsoever to the interior, which is, I presume, a bunker house or something. Excuse me. So if you come to this place, don't bother hunting for it because it's not available. Again, this is kind of a clue in that that's a chalice. You can see that my character stops about mid-leg there. If you don't want or don't have a chalice, you can use layered glass. We've had people do that. Others have used screens. I mean, there's been all sorts of solutions to the we need more water feature type of items before they brought in the waterfalls. And of course, not everybody wants to spend their money or omnibits on the waterfall pack. So, you know, there are alternatives, some more suitable to certain situations than others. Found some treasure here. But really, it just depends on what you're looking for, the size of the space that you're trying to give a water feature to. You see me kind of mousing over. I'm just making sure there's not like any hidden doors that I'm missing out on, because I have a tendency to miss those unintentionally, of course, but don't remember if we've already seen this one or not. Probably that's the first one I went to, I think. Yeah, I think that's the first one. There's one, let's see, what did they write? The floating islands access this game via the treetop platforms connected to the treetop platform in turn via the mossy climbing trees. Okay, so I guess that's, make sure there's nothing over here that I missed. Yeah, I like this. I mostly use it for just the flowers. I like push it down on the ground so you don't see the bones. But I love that item because it's one of the few like orangish type plants, other than I think there's a Galaris one that's kind of orange. There's the blooming pollen one, but that's renown, and I try to not spend all my renown on that thing. Okay, we're kind of going out of the plot here. Kind of getting lost, I think. Yeah, I think this is kind of a ruins or something between the plots. I don't know. It feels like I'm missing something, but I guess I got most of it. Not sure how many islands there were altogether. Just run back through one more time to make sure I didn't miss anything. That's the double one. This is the one at the front. Yeah, I think that's it for this one. If not, again, I strongly, strongly, strongly recommend coming to visit these places yourself in person. It's much more impressive. You get a feel for the size of a place. This is where you'd zone in. If you come to the individual plot itself, this is where you'd start. Okay, so moving on to the next one. I feel like deja vu here. I think we've gone across this bridge like 3 or 4 times now. um, so this here, I'm not sure what it is. Again, this is part of the community section. I think this is the buzzbing part. Yeah, we've got like a whole little hive here. Waiting for someone to come up with something like maybe dyeing the soul frost goop balls or whatever to make it look like honey. Hey Thiefy, good morning. Glad you could join. Hope you're not like missing out on classes for this. Whoops. Leave it to me to get stuck in that. This always reminds me of like, I think these would work good as barnacles on like an old ship or in an underground scene or something. They look like barnacles to me. It might just be me, but that's what it reminds me of. So we're kind of skirting around Maroshi Shadow Glades area this time. We'll be zipping back and forth around that community part because I can see there's some stuff here that I don't want to miss. Like, did I just bypass this part? And these logs are really fun because people like to use them as tunnels. I don't know if that's what this one's for. You can pass right through it. See, I didn't even notice it the first time. I've seen a couple oversize them and make them into like little houses. But yeah, it's a very ocean-y looking place here. He's very red. Most of this is obsidian rocks and just a lot of Osun decor from the anvils and forges and the drums and the walls and everything. Yeah, they are, Thefia. It's going slowly. Trying to catch everything. I like the welders. I have them. I never use them, but I always find it fun. People figuring out ways to sneak them in. A lot of times they're like repairmen on ships and stuff, but like for drilling, like for miners and stuff, they use it that way too. I find that kind of entertaining. There's another log. That's a technophaser. I'm not sure what this is. I don't know if that's an engine part or something. I've seen some people use the Chua mailbox. That's a big favorite, especially for like spaceship bits. It kind of looks like a little portal door. Where are we now? We're more at the north. Again, protostar insta for this little rise here. Fun boss NPCs. Again, we have a lot of like bones and corpses and bloody gory bits. Always interesting to see how people use those. Okay, I'm getting ahead of myself. Need to go back down. Otherwise, we're going to cross into the last spot before we're ready. I see a terminite section here. There's actually a terminite decor kit because we spotted these vines in a different plot and found out that that's where those come from. So you get all of these little nasty looking mounds and eggs and the stringy vines. Kind of creepy that they're that color. But you know, if you're looking for something to add extra to your jungle, you can recolor them a green if you want. Now, if I remember right, this plot and the last one we'll be visiting, both of them have interiors, but they're not decorated yet. So if I happen across where the entrance is, I'll point it out, but we won't be going inside. Dang it. Like, I get through here. Yeah, I think this is one of them here, because we're pretty much in the middle. And so you would be able to go down into the bunker house from here. And as Thiefy says, yet, they're not decorated yet. The plan is to decorate them eventually. So something to look forward to. These bits here, I think those also come from a decor kit. I don't remember the name of it, but if I recall rightly, there's a lot of those like little brackets or trimming or whatever they're called. These here, of course, are the Exile tactical tables, and then they've added some extra bits on them. It's very reminiscent of some of the zone areas in game. Okay, I think I just backtracked a little bit. Okay, we're back to the Buzzbing Hive, and now let's go this way. Again, it's jungly, so there's a lot of opportunity to get lost, which is what I am good at doing. So it'll be, it's one of those, I suspect it's one of those plots where you can have multiple visits and spot something that you didn't spot the last time, especially if the builder is frequently changing things around or updating things. It can make it kind of as it evolves, it keeps it interesting because you never know what else you might see or might not see. All these little tunnels and stuff, I'm not even sure where I'm at anymore. Okay, we're back in the Terminite area. I think I'm coming out the side. Let me double check. See, main focal point is the Eldon facility, which gives you access to the bunker house, Buzzbing Hive, Terminite, and there's a small abandoned cap in the bottom left corner. So let me head that way. We don't miss the camp. I know there's a mini map here, but I have a habit of clicking the big map. So I'm sorry if folks find that irritating. That's just something I do. Let's see, did I miss it? I think I went right past it, maybe. Okay, bottom right. I'm in the bottom left, aren't I? No, it says bottom left. Wait a minute. Where is it? I see a wishing well fab kit here. The other way. You know that doesn't work with me, right? Because I get lost anyway. See what I mean? You can get so turned around in here. Uh, is it like off into the community section, maybe? The very bottom left, okay. Need to go this way. Oops, look at that. I'm just running into the tree. That's what I get for having collision stuff. Well, it's around here somewhere. Okay, not here maybe? Gosh. Left, right. It's somewhere around in here. I'll say that it's bottom left, and we'll just leave it at that because obviously I'm like the last person to come do this and show people because I can't find it. I see an antenna here. Is that a hint? No, that's not a hint. Wow, I can't spell either. Okay, I'm stopped for a minute, so give me like a general direction. We'll try and catch it before we move on to the next spot. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Kind of waiting because again, there's a bit of a delay. I think it's like 30 seconds or something, so it's kind of tough to left, go through the celestial route, and then turn right. I don't see a celestial route. I don't think this is the way. Let me backtrack. I'm looking for a route. That's a mangrove. Here's a route. Here's a route. Then turn right. Ah, we found it. Thank goodness. So here's the abandoned camp. And sure enough, it's right there. Just for those curious. Okay, so I think I hit everything, and what's the name again? It doesn't say now. Anyway, you got it. Let's move on to the next one before I mess it up further. Now, the last one, from what I gather, is considerably different from the others. Now I'm looking for the path over there. I think this one's the swamp, if I remember right. Totally just a wall there. Here we go. It's got the creepy urinals right there. The alcoves. Render alcove or something. I don't know why I call them urinals. I think I have an unhealthy obsession with toilet stuff. So, but here's some really ominous looking bits. The like a little gallows type of thing. If you're wondering about now this part here, I think this is part of the sky remodel, the little ghosty symbols that are floating around. I have no idea what the sky remodel name is. Thief, you might know off the top of their head, but that's part of it. Now this bluish ghosty stuff, we've seen a lot of this when we toured spooky houses during Shades Eve and everything. That's basically one of the haunted decor pieces. It's like a little head on a stick. I think there's one of Jack Shade's head and there's one of the angel head. There might be a couple other items, but those are the two that I'm more familiar with. They give off what they call uh, it's not I think it's haunted interactable type of thing. You click it and you can unhaunt it by cleansing it, and then it'll rehaunt later. So that's where this cool animation comes from. It's just kind of ghosty and stuff. All right, Thefia, thank you for dropping by, and good luck with the class. Taurine Twilight is the sky remodel, Thefia says. So if you're wanting these little weird misty symbols floating around on your plot, that's the thing. Again, remember, whatever sky remodel you use, that really does affect the coloring, the look of the decor items, because like if you're using the Shades Eve one with the Jack Shade moon, it gives everything kind of a an orangey haze or glow. It can really change the look of a plot depending on, I mean, you have your lighting, your accent lighting that you can do with light decor, but everything else takes on a different hue. It looks completely different than if you just use a regular lit plot, like a sunny day or something. It's like if you use the rainy sky remodel, everything takes on a really drab color. So items that usually look gaudy, like too colorful, like a lot of the Oran decor and stuff, that really gets toned back quite a bit when you change the sky remodel like that. So anyway, yeah, this comes into the Deep Wood Swamp by Miash Soulstorm. Again, this is really a solo-built community. Thiefy is the one that put it all together. So yeah, kudos on them. But easily, the communities are a great opportunity to work in conjunction with other builders. I imagine it can lead to frustrations, probably, but it also opens opportunity to kind of share ideas um, and working together with, like, coming up with a theme, and then just seeing how each builder confronts that theme, how they decide to portray it. That kind of thing. We've seen that in the past with individual plots that are allotted out to multiple builders. I've participated in some of those co-op builds. For example, a former guildmate of mine wanted their plot all pirate themed, and those of us that decided to participate were given a specific decor allotment and a space that we could just build whatever we wanted, as long as it was pirate themed. And so it was really fun to see how people approached it, what type of items they used, what kind of little ideas they threw into it. Anyway, so let's just kind of wander around here. Again, I think the water is still one of the chalices, but because of the lighting, it looks more swampy green as opposed to the blue that it usually has on there. Again, this little sparkly effect with the will-o-wisps looking stuff, that's the buoyant blue crystal. The crystal actually moves, and you kind of have to size it up pretty good and then push it down. But if you do that, or if you do like this, hide it with a stone. Um, it makes for a great effect. It's good not just for spooky type of builds, but if you're looking for like a magical effect for a enchanted forest of some sort, it also works really nicely. So you got all these little swampy island bits. Again, a lot of the thinker heads for all around the trim with a little bit of stone accents. There's that spooky effect with the haunted item. And again, this plot does have an interior, but it is yet to be decorated, so we won't be checking that out. Here's a little grave with some zombies. The freshly shoveled dirt, that's just sandbags. Some people have used the upside down barnacle weeds. Now that you have color shifting, you could probably get away with just about anything. I've seen a few try to use like the portable containers, the one that's got the bright blue and the yellow light on the bottom. It has a bit of a mound of dirt. You can kind of get away with using that if you push it down, but it had to be pretty big below to get it to work right. But sandbags is probably the favorite for a pile of dirt. This here, that's one of those Arctera things, I think. They just inset it into the weeping fountain to give it a little oomph. The little wagon that comes from like the Shades Eve event. So you can kind of, if you position just right, you can hit the cleanse button. But I think because they have it upside down, it doesn't work properly. Go to this one. Okay, see how the lighting changes once you exit the plot in question? And it just makes a really big difference. It really plays into the atmosphere here. So here's a little kind of creepy little island here. Got a lot of, I think it's Falcon items, and then that gaping maw. Just kind of gross. They even have somebody in it. Looks like he's getting gnawed on. The smoke, that's just probably one of the ones from the decor pack itself. And if you were to come to this individual plot, this is where you would zone in inside the cave here. Again, it just takes a lot of experimenting and getting ideas from other builders on how you would cover up your teleport pad to make it look different. We've seen some do like this, put it in like a little cave structure. Others go for actual building blocks like curved walls and such, dress it up a little fancier. Again, the smoke really helps add to makes it look like a giant poison shroom. There we have a little cabin in the woods, I guess. You can see it's the tiki roof and 2x4s filling it in. Now notice that they have to use the boards in different sizes to accommodate making a window and a doorway. That's just one of the disadvantages. It's not like we can stretch or shrink down the dimensions. You have to just kind of fiddle around with it. They've done a pretty good job of keeping it fairly uniform so it doesn't look too patchy. But again, depending on the type of theme you're working with, the patchiness might actually work. But you can see how typically you want to use the same size boards, but you just can't do that with the way the decor works. This here for the fireplace, that's just a curved Draken fencing. This here is a cellar entrance, I think. And again, you know, if you're doing custom homes like this, keep in mind that any effects that the sky remodel has, whether it be rain, snow, gusts of wind, these little weird poofs of lettering, they will invade the custom home. It doesn't have the sense that the roof is actually, you know, stop here kind of thing. So be mindful of that. If you're doing a custom building, you know, and you're going for like a noir kind of scene with rain and everything, just keep in mind that it won't. You can see there's quite a few entrances here to this opposite plots here. It just doesn't work like you would hope. So if it's raining on your plot and you build a custom house, it's going to be raining in your custom house. There's no avoiding it. Unless they add some kind of collision barrier items that prevents the rain from entering, which I sincerely doubt they will have anything like that. There's a nice little scene. I don't know if, I guess it's supposed to look like half a body. Just kind of creepy, gross. There's another cabin thing. Half destroyed here. A little bit of sunk down into the water. The swamp is taking over. Maybe. Technically, it'd still be there. You might can kind of disguise it a little bit, possibly. Like, there's no hiding these symbols all inside the buildings here. They kind of look like smoke. I don't know if there's anything in here of importance. No. Yes, I see that there's a cabin here, but I'm kind of saving it for last. Just walking around the edges here. I noticed that a lot of the foliage that they're using here, a lot of the plants and trees and stuff, are actually similar to the previous plot, but you just get a totally different feel here due to the lighting and the coloring of some of them. It's just very creepy over here. Awesome jumping. It's embarrassing. See how bright that becomes, and then if you go into you can see how very colorful a lot of the items are, but once you enter and the lighting changes, it's just very, very different feel. I tend not to really pay much attention to that because I'm one of those that tends not to mess with the sky remodels. I tend to just use the default. which is probably bad. I'm lazy in that respect, I guess. Okay, so this is where we come in. So I guess we're ready to go to the center here. We have rent all around the perimeter. Hey, here's that creepy plant, I think. No, that's just the regular tentacle one. I thought it might be one of the interactable types. Oops. I love the mossy tree. It's probably one of my favorites. And if you're looking for some really interesting ground, like almost like a mossy kind of ground surface, if you happen across these mossy trees, flip them upside down and you get a really interesting ground to remodel. I've only seen a couple of people use it in the past, and it's a really interesting looking texture and everything. Okay, so here we are at the, I would assume to be the main cabin. Looks to be mostly Draken fencing for the walls, and then Draken floors for the roof. See if I can go inside here. And similar setup to the other one that we visited. And let's see. Gonna see if I can find the entrance to the interior here. Yeah, here. Again, it's from what I understand, it's not decorated, but the plan is it will be. Into what, I have no idea, but I imagine it'll be something tied to the swamp. Maybe you'll see some roots of the mangroves coming down from the ceiling. It might be like an underground cave type of thing. Um, I know some folks, when they're building these environments, they often kind of get stumped as to what to put in those underground areas, uh, besides a cave or some kind of underground feature. So sometimes the interiors don't actually match what's going on outside. Like there was one where they built, it's an actual indoor outdoor thing. They had like this, the ceiling was like one of those space dioramas, and they made it look like a night sky, and put a little village type of thing there, and it worked really great, but it seemed kind of weird. It was a contrast between what was on the outside and what happened when you went on the inside. And others like myself use kind of like a faux elevator kind of thing to try and trick you into thinking that you've gone down to another level of a building or something, so that you don't have to worry about making it a cave or whatever. Don't want to miss this part here, the little water wheel. We've seen a variety of these. I think Maddie has at least one or two. Usually it's like hover part pieces, but this one's using 2x4s for most of it. Some of it metal edged and others just the regular. We've seen some where they actually put in waterfalls to try and give the illusion that there's water coming off of it. There's been a few that have used like oversized exhaust fans, or the windmill blades to try and make it look animated. I think there was even one that used an oversized gear thing from some piece that they managed to hide to make it look like it was actually moving. Let's see. Yeah, I think that covers all of it. These type of plots here that we've seen in this particular community probably make for ideal little hide and seek type of deals. Like we've seen some like put like a specific plushie or data cubes or something or whatever, trying to say, you know, can you find uh, all of the plushies? Like there's kind of like my egg hunt one for the Easter plot. I said, you know, there's a specific number of eggs. Can you find them all? This would be a great plot. And there's just so many little hiding places. Trying to get a overview here. Some of the creepiness that's going on. Okay, let me look over, make sure we saw everything. We saw the graveyard with the zombies, the execution hanging area, the stone house with the water wheel. We just passed, where is that? We just saw it a second ago. There's supposed to be a apparition of someone who is hanged on a hollow log in the water southwest of the stone house. I know we just passed him, but I don't remember where it was. I saw it, but I didn't say anything about it, and now I'm regretting that. Southwest. Man, my directions bite the big one. Ah, there he is. Yeah, because there's the noose there, and so that's the ghost of him having endured. The half-sunken house we saw, the Malvarine lair we saw, that was where the half guy was there. The falcon perch and maw on the ground, we saw that one. That's where the gaping maw was. And then the wooden house. Saw that one. Okay, so I think that covers it all. There were a few things maybe we didn't catch in the community part. So let's back up here. Trying to find a. We saw multiple paths into the community area, and now I'm not going to be able to find one because I want to go to the community area. And that'll be how it works. Here we go. This will lead us out. Yeah, there's supposed to be a Moody Village somewhere around here. I think this is the Dominion crash site. That would be directly north of the entry point. Because again, I don't want to miss anything. I think this is the Moody Village. Lots of happy Moody's dancing. See, like here, these are like Arctera claws, and they're using it kind of like part of the decorations. I like that. It's just an interesting and unusual way of using those particular items. I mean, obviously you want a lot of bones, and we do have a lot of bone decor, clearly, with all the variety of skulls and stuff that you can see around here. But I like that. That's a good use of that particular item. Okay, we saw that one, the Metal Mall. We've been through the Terminite area. And we saw the ruins in the center. We might finish up there anyway. Trying to stick to just the outside here. There's the Osun bit. Yeah, I think we've hit most of it. I think it was just the Dominion one and the Moody Village that I wasn't sure we hit, and we've got those down pat. And I forget what the decor amount you're allotted for the community section is. I think it's either 4 or 5,000, something like that. I think it's 4. Which is actually quite a bit. I mean, it doesn't look like it, I mean, or sound like it based on the square footage you're given, but still, just by looking, you can see what an amazing amount of decorations you can give this place. And have it blend in so beautifully. Okay, I think I've lopped off into the center of one of the other plots. Let me make my way back to the center of the community. It should be the ruins I will come up on. I'm going to get stuck in these bushes. Honk. And we will wrap up there. I can find my way. Yeah, I think this is what they're calling the ruins here. Since these are like broken columns. And that would be the center of the community. So there you go. That is the Mystwood Forest community on Jabbit EU. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Again, this was one of the showdown community showdown competition winners, one of the honorable mentions. I think we have a handful more to go through. A few more honorable mentions, and then there's a couple that more that were just participants that didn't actually win a prize or anything, but they did participate, and I wanted to show those as well. We did a couple of those earlier, like Aurora's, I think it was, and Arabesque, I think was one of them. So yeah, we'll be getting through those, and then we'll probably delve back into some individual plots until I am settled on a queue for the communities that I've been given suggestions by other players or that I come across myself. It's not necessarily a foregone rule that the communities themselves have to be completed, but I'd like them to be mostly completed because um, it's always better to kind of see the end product than to come in and say, well, this isn't done, and then end up having to come back. It's not that I don't like retouring a place, but I like to kind of try and keep it as fresh as possible each time. So if you have a place you want to suggest, a community that you know of, or an individual plot that you know of that we haven't toured yet, and you feel like it's either close to ready or ready, feel free to drop me a note. Twitter, Twitch, and forum PM is probably the top 3 best ways to get a hold of me, because those particular places I check on a regular basis. In-game messages don't always get through to me as quickly as they probably should, for the most part because I don't really log into the game as often as I would like. It's usually just check set up for a live stream the day before we actually stream, and then I'm only here for a couple hours on an actual stream day. So just keep that in mind if you're trying to get in touch with me for whatever reason. I will be adding some new links on the resources section with some information that TW passed along about some other people that have been doing some house tours, I think particularly on NA side, so I'll be dropping information on that. Their housing Discord information as well. I'll probably be into that maybe today, but definitely sometime over the weekend, if not before that. So keep an eye out for that. And again, a reminder, there is that Valentine housing competition going on that Legacy is hosting. It's an NA only invitation to join. So yeah, if you are an NA player or have a plot on NA and you want to participate, just check out the official forums, the housing subforum section. It's like one of the top posts there by, what was his name? Laywing. And it's very clearly in the title, Valentine Housing Competition, and they give all of the information about the prizes, what they're looking for, and who to contact, etc. They are planning to do a live stream tour of it, from what I understand. Tentatively, they're saying it's, what did they say? Arcyex, ARCYEX. So yeah, hopefully they'll also archive it on YouTube or something so that those that can't make it to the live stream will actually get to see it later. But you know, if not, try and make it for there. But they give the times and everything all in the forum thread. And yeah, I think that's it for this week, guys. As far as I know, things are a go for next week, so be planning to join us again. If you're interested, we'll be back on to entity side next week to check out another community. And again, thank you guys for all the support, the tweets, the retweets, the follows, the subscribers, those of you that come to chat. Always make it a pleasure to continue on with this. I know we've been doing this for a couple of years now, but it's so much more enjoyable sharing it with folks of like-mindedness, and hopefully you guys get inspired to create some new projects in the future. So good luck with those or anything else that you happen to be working on. And thank you guys, and I'll see you later. Bye-bye.